Greetings everyone. Welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the films from 2019. Ready or not? Before we start, I hope your day be filled with sunshine and smile. Enjoy the story. 1989, a man is pursuing Daniel and Alex, two siblings, as they run around the Ladomas mansion. Before Charles, the new husband of the boys' Aunt Helene, approaches Daniel, he hides Alex in a closet. Charles begs Daniel to come to his aid because he has recently been hurt and is being pursued. Rather, Daniel notifies Charles's other family members of his presence. While Helene tries to save her husband, Charles is dragged into a room by the family and meets a horrific end. 30 years later, Alex and Grace are getting married. While anxious, she can't wait to become a part of his family's gaming dominion, which is how they amass their enormous fortune. Before the wedding, the couple and other members of Alex's family go for a photo shoot. Charity, Daniel's wife, arrives and freely admits that she married him primarily for his family's financial benefit. Grace is clearly offended by their father Tony, but Helene, who gives Grace a death glare, is much more so. Grace is informed by Becky, Alex and Daniel's mother, that Alex is the only one whose opinion counts. A short while later, Grace and Alex are married as everyone assembles for the ceremony. Helene breaks them off to tell Alex that he has to join the family for something. Alex goes on to tell Grace that she must join the Ladomas family for a game at midnight, as is customary for every new member. When Grace and Alex get back together, the family has grown to include Emily, the cokehead sister of Alex and Daniel, her husband Fitch Bradley, and their boys Georgie and Gabe. Everyone gathers around a table. Tony tells Grace that his great-grandfather Victor established this custom by striking a deal with an enigmatic backer known only as Mr. LaBelle. In exchange for Victor fulfilling his share of the bargain, he gave Victor and his offspring their fortune as well as a unique box. Grace is handed the box by the family, so she can choose the game and draw a card from it. There is silence in the room as Grace pulls out hide and seek. Grace finds it extremely unappealing that Tony wants her to remain hidden until dawn in order to win. As one of the maids, Clara, reads the boys a bedtime story, the family arms themselves with guns as she runs for her life, with the exception of Helene and Fitch, who receive an axe and a crossbow, respectively. Alex decides to wait it out, while Grace hides in a dumbwaiter. Charity learns that Alex left his room to warn Grace as the family set out to find her. After leaving the dumbwaiter, Grace wanders off until Alex finds her, covers her mouth, and tells her to shut up. Georgie is no longer in bed, and Clara is moving around. A gunshot is heard as Clara is searching for him, and her face is blown off. Thought it was Grace, Emily accidentally fired the shot and then realized her mistake. Clara's body is moved with the assistance of Tony, Helene, Daniel, and Becky. Grace sits there horrified by what she just saw. To tell her the truth, Alex yanks her into a separate room. For the Ladomases, hide and seek refers to their belief that they must track down Grace and murder her before dawn or face certain death. Alex acknowledges that he kept this information from her out of concern that she would leave him, but he swears to find a secure way for her to leave. To make moving around easier, Grace tears off the bottom of her dress and swaps her heels for tennis shoes. As she begins to leave, Tony, Helene, and Daniel notice her right away. They attempt to render her unconscious, but Emily, having just finished another line of coke, fires wildly at Grace, missing. The others realize that Grace is now aware of the truth as she flees. Daniel finds her too, but he doesn't seem to care that anyone is looking for her, so he gives Grace a head start before telling everyone. As the family is getting together to devise a new plan, Tina, another maid Celine Sy, enters and tries to inform Tony that she has seen Grace. After receiving Fitch's crossbow, Emily unintentionally shoots Tina in the head. When Tina refuses to stop moaning, Helene chops off her head. She then advises Tony that they use the cameras to find Grace, but Tony objects because it's not customary. Grace loads up after finding a rifle and ammunition. While Alex tries to activate the cameras and remove the locks on the doors and windows, she hides in the kitchen. Stevens, the butler, comes into the kitchen to fetch tea. Grace can be heard loading her rifle, and he soon spots her. When she tries to shoot Stevens, he tells her that the ammunition is only for show. She manages to get away from him despite this by smashing the teapot over his face. Once Alex opens the windows and doors, Grace is able to leave the house. Tony assaults Alex after he and Daniel discover him in the control room. Alex retaliates, but Daniel talks her down. In order to stop Alex from supporting Grace, they handcuff him in his bedroom. She is outside on the roof and can hear Tony and Helene conversing in the meantime. They are aware that Alex has consistently defied their traditions by being the good son, but Helene believes Alex will eventually accept his position in the family, just as she did after Charles was killed. She initially attempted to stop it, but eventually came to the conclusion that she ought to have killed him herself. She now fears Alex will eventually carry on his family's legacy. Grace escapes and rushes towards the stable. When she sees Georgie approaching, she believes he will assist her, but instead he pulls a gun on her and pierces her hand. She strikes him in the face in retaliation, knocking him unconscious. Then a goat startles Grace, and she falls into the goat pit, where the dead goats and unfortunate family members are disposed of. The ladder begins to give way beneath Grace's feet as she makes her way to the top. As she reaches the top, her hand's hole is punctured by a nail. After gathering the strength to pull herself out, she uses a portion of her dress as a bandage. She escapes once more and gains entry through the front gate. She tries to flag someone down, but he drives away from her because he is a prick. Stevens finds her shortly after and makes an attempt to apprehend her. Grace struggles with him and tries to suffocate him with a sliver of her dress. She accepts his car, but she is unaware of his continued existence. Grace leaves Stevens' car and calls Justin, a customer support representative, for assistance. Unfortunately, Justin locks the car since it has already been reported stolen, which allows Stevens to locate Grace and calm her down. He lets the family know he is Grace by video chatting with them as he makes his way back toward the mansion. He doesn't see Grace waking up when he turns on the radio to play classical music, but the family does. Stevens is kicked twice in the head by Grace, and despite their best efforts to warn him, he fails to see her and rolls the car into a field. Grace lives, but Stevens does not, so he knocks her out and takes her back to the mansion. To start the ceremony of offering Grace as a sacrifice to Mr. LaBelle, the family arranges Grace on an altar. Just before Tony kills Grace, they pass around a chalice and drink from it. But right before that, they begin to throw up violently. Daniel releases Grace from the altar after giving everyone something to make them sick. Charity finds them as he tries to help her escape. She shoots Daniel in the throat, knowing that he is no longer with them. Charity is fought by Grace, who then takes the gun away. With the bullets gone, she gives Charity a pistol whip. When Grace tries to assist Daniel, he tells her to leave. After escaping his handcuffs, Alex discovers Daniel is dying. It is too late for him to save his brother. Tony then turns on Grace and tries to kill her, but she drops a lantern and hits him over the head, setting the curtains on fire. Becky then finds Grace and tries to strangle her after missing with her arrow. After removing the tablecloth and grabbing Mr. LaBelle's box, Grace bludgeons Becky to death with the box after knocking her off. Next, Alex arrives on the scene and approaches Grace. He turns on her and gives her up to someone else after realizing that she can never stay with him. Everyone holds Grace down for the remainder of the ritual. Alex is about to stab his wife when Grace releases Helene's hold on her hand with a claw before allowing the dagger to enter her shoulder. She leaps from the table and screams as she points the dagger in the direction of the family. Then they realize it's too late because the sun has risen. Nothing happens as they flinch in terror at their imminent death. Helene still intends to murder Grace, though. As she grasps the axe, all of a sudden, whack! Helene bursts into a gory jumble. The family understands they are in serious trouble. The next to blow up is Fitch, then a beseeching Charity. Emily tries to escape with Gabe and Georgie, but they all lose it as well. When Tony tries to yell that he followed the rules, he turns into paste. After that, Alex tries to manipulate Grace into forgiving him, but she refuses, giving him her ring and declaring her desire for a divorce. Alex goes boom. Then the fire from the curtain spreads throughout the house, and Grace briefly sees Mr. LaBelle's ghost sitting in his chair, giving her an encouraging nod. Grace, now drenched in blood, leaves the burning mansion. Just as the paramedics and police show up, she sits down on the steps to smoke a cigarette. Grace tells an officer what the hell happened and she says, "In-laws."